In this video, I wanted to talk about a number of things. My friends, this is Tony. Hope you're all doing well. Some time ago, Stephen Hawking, when he was alive, talked about what could happen to our universe. And I went through some of this a couple of years back, talking about some of the things he was saying. And what's amazing is we had also scientists about, I would say a year ago, come out and say that they have confirmed our universe is a simulation. And it kind of went into some stuff I talked about over a decade ago about the double slit experiment, where an electron behaves differently when you observe it. And what's amazing is my researcher just discovered some scripture. And we're talking not the standard, but apocryphal pseudepigraphical type from the Ethiopian Orthodox Church that talks about how we are in a simulation. We're going to get into that and actually a ton of other stuff. Tongue twister there for some reason. We have Stephen Hawking fears Higgs-boson doomsday, and he's not alone. Physicist Stephen Hawking lends his support to the idea that the mass of the Higgs boson leaves the way open for a catastrophic cosmic wipeout. What's really amazing about this is I saw, that's not what I was looking for. I saw, where did it go? This is what happens when you have too many things open. Here it is. I saw this interesting comment, or actually it was an article. Where was it at? Okay, I can't even find it now. It was CERN. Okay, here we go. Come on, man. Where was it? Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. I saw this article. CERN pays tribute to Stephen Hawking. I thought it was really ironic that they paid tribute to him when he's the one who said that they could actually destroy the universe. That's kind of interesting. They would pay tribute to him when he wrote that and said that. You would think they would not want to pay tribute to the man for saying that, but maybe they're actually indicating there's some truth to it. Because we did have some weird things they discovered a little over a year ago. And then we had some strange things happen back in April that they were working on as well. So, of course, they've been hunting for new physics. And interestingly, they found something called ghost particles. And this ties into some of the stuff I've been talking about of recent with regards to aliens, how I actually think they're actually interdimensional beings, not, of course, from another planet. And perhaps this technology here is able to somehow pierce the veil between the two. We have, obviously, science and religion. In religion, we have angels, but they always talk about angels as if they don't have a physical corporeal body. And then you got aliens where they always talk about them being in space. What if it's actually, they're both interdimensional beings and they are related? And I showed some clips from Danny Jones' channel where he interviewed a certain lady who is a scholar in this realm. She's, I can't remember her name. I don't have it pulled up right now, but I played some clips. It was like a video before last, I think, where she was talking about how a number of these historical supernatural encounters with various saints in the ancient past sound very similar to some of these alien encounters of today. Talking about, like, for example, one saint had electricity shoot out into his hands and make scars or marks. And I'm trying to remember what saint that was. I can't remember. Why am I not thinking of his name right off the top of my head? At any rate, I can't remember his name for some reason. I'm terrible with names for some reason. I can't remember anybody's name. Oh, yeah, Assisi. Something of Assisi. I can't remember. Francis of Assisi? I think that's who it was. At any rate, he got these marks on his hands. And what was interesting is a number of these UFO alien encounters of today, they also have electricity burn marks on people. And what I was pointing out was that I actually think that it's just perhaps the same type of being. So, for example, if you have a good human and an evil human, do they have any difference in their physical nature? No. They're the exact same being. So if you have a fallen angel or a regular angel, would they have any difference in their physical being? No. Obviously, I think there's different species of them. I think there's multiple different types of angels. But if you're the one type of angel like seraphim and seraphim, one fallen, one not fallen, they would be the exact same nature. So my point is that you would see the exact same technology, exact same nature, exact same experiences, except for maybe good or evil, depending on the situation. And this would be what is really related to all this. Now, this kind of fits into what I'm saying because they tell us that science is different than religion. Or is it? With this Hadron Collider, they have a statue, of course, in front of it, and it is a god, a false god, or whatever you want to call it, that is a destroyer. And what did Stephen Hawking said? You could destroy the universe with this technology. Why would they put a god that's a destroyer in front of it and then also reflect and look at Stephen Hawking in a good light? Well, he knew what he was talking about. He's a smart guy. He knew what we were doing the whole time. You know what I mean? Like, you see what I'm getting at? Perhaps they are breaking the veil that's not supposed to be broken. There's something going on there, right? And like I said, we're going to get into a ton of stuff. I wanted to mention, go check me out on X. Link is in the description. I would like to get as many followers over there as possible. I'm going to put up a lot of awesome content over this new year. Happy New Year to all you as well. Go check out all my links for other things like the book Lost Ways, How Your Great-Great-Grandfather Lived Without Electricity, everything else linked in the description. Physicists have found the ghost haunting the world's most famous particle accelerator. They call it a ghost particle. Maybe there's a little bit more literal than we realize. Interdimensional beings, interdimensional particles. Could that be what we're talking about here? Indeed. An invisible force has long eluded detection within CERN's halls. Yeah, probably because that's what it is. That's what it is. We've had scientists who've worked there coming out on interviews saying that there is this element to what they're doing. I've shown it on video before. 7 exotic ghost particles as they pierced through the Earth. Devices buried deep within the South Pole detected highly elusive tau neutrinos blasted toward Earth by powerful astrophysical events. Astronomers using Ice Cube Observatory, which is buried deep within the ice of the South Pole, has detected 7 elusive and exotic ghost particle candidates as they streamed through the Earth. The signals suggest these particles are astrophysical tau neutrinos. They act as an important messengers between powerful high-energy celestial events and us. Interesting. So, of course, you have these type of articles that came out all at the same time talking about this 4D ghost in the accelerator. Like, okay, sounds kind of spiritual there, dude. You know what I mean? Oh, but it's all science. It's all it is. It's pure science, of course. Obviously, they discovered in 2012 the Higgs boson, which they called the God particle. Obviously, they're looking for something. Why is the question? What are they going to use these particles for? What are they attempting to do? And it's interesting because we have another man who's a tech billionaire named Peter Thiel, who's been talking about things spiritual of recent as well. Talking about the Antichrist. Why would he be talking about him? Check this out. I saw this over on Truth Be Told's channel.
Peter Thiel. He's doing a 4-day seminar on the Antichrist.
What?
I read this article by Christianity Today about the Acts 17 ministry. I think their intentions are good. They want to reach the tech industry with the gospel. The husband of the founder of Acts 17, he used to work for Peter Thiel at Palantir, and they went over to one tech industry dude's house to do like this house church, and Peter Thiel was there, and Peter Thiel just started talking about the Antichrist and stuff. And apparently all these Silicon Valley tech dudes were just like, we didn't know Peter Thiel was a Christian.
Peter Thiel is a libertarian, and there's a professor that he studied under. A lot of his quotes regarding Christianity are direct quotes from this professor. The professor and him are very, as far as like the Antichrist and stuff like that, there's this tension between the apocalypse coming and the Antichrist is the hero that saves everyone from it. His entire thing is like something's gonna happen that makes you choose one or the other. But he defines himself as far as his own religious views as a heterodoxical Christian. It's the same root as heretic. He doesn't believe you need to evangelize. He's like, my faith is real for me. I don't need to convince you of it. You cannot call
This is interesting because there's other people in history that also claimed to be quote unquote Christian, but they were heterodoxical as well. They didn't believe in any of the main doctrines of Christianity. They just call themselves Christians. And they influenced our society in large ways, like this man.
Yourself a believer. And the last thing that Jesus said after his 3 years of ministry, death and resurrection, he says, go and make disciples of all nations, teaching them to obey the things I've commanded you.
So he's like saying some weird things, Peter Thiel. He was talking about how that we need to not regulate AI at all. And he says that the Antichrist would want to regulate it, which is the most bizarre take I've ever heard in my life. You would think you would want to regulate AI so no evil happens. Like, what are you talking about, dude? Wouldn't that be the exact opposite of what it would be? Literally what he says is what the Antichrist would want, is literally the opposite of what he would want. And then I saw one man interview Peter Thiel and said, some would say that what you're building is something the Antichrist would use. And he was smiling when he said it. Peter Thiel was smiling. Like he was trying to stop the smile, of course. Kind of like that lady we saw earlier, but for a different reason. It's interesting, though, that this man is talking about the Antichrist. He's not talking about Jesus, though, is he? Not really. And what's interesting is my researcher found out this thing with Fifth Baruch. It's a book that is known by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Christians are not really aware of this. Most of them are not. 5 Baruch 29, 8 through 12 implies that we're living in a simulation, which is what I've been believing for a long time. It's sort of a testing ground of God. This is God's simulation as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, what we've seen with Looking Glass, the Mandela effect, which of course started around the time that they first started the whole Hadron Collider. This shows that our world is a simulation and has been dying out since 2012. Of course, they couldn't see into the future and change anything after 2012. That was what they were saying with regards to this project right here. And that's when the timelines have started emerging, which means I believe the devil's timeline is coming to an end. There are 2 clocks or 2 timelines. This is a prediction from Kim Clement. But let's read what Fifth Baruch says. You foolish ones, do you not think that you will enter into the heavenly kingdom because of your great wealth? All the glory of your house will not go down with you, and your terrestrial kingdom will be forgotten, for the existence of this world is temporary. The world is temporary, and its desires are too. Everything is temporary, and it wears out like a garment, and just like linen clothes that you change, and they are changed, so the existence of this world is temporary. And this is what I talked about before with Revelation, where it talks about there'll be a new heaven, new earth, and new Jerusalem. So this current afterlife, Hades, which has upper and lower levels, which at one time before Christ died on the cross, the good people will go to the upper levels of Hades and the evil will go to the lower levels. And there's actually 2 compartments for the upper and 2 compartments for the lower. And of course, after Jesus' death and resurrection, those that were in the upper chambers of Hades were brought out of there into heaven. That's why King David said, thou shalt not leave my soul in hell. And it isn't actually, the term hell means Hades. It doesn't mean hell as you would think of hell. But it's like the upper levels of Hades, which is the better part, like the paradise of that time. So interestingly, what's going on here is that the current afterlife is temporary. There's going to be a new heaven, new earth, new Jerusalem. And so this is a simulation of sorts. Fifth Baruch 47:15 debunks our modern eschatology and predicts the middle, of course, ages. Then God will cause the false Messiah to cease. The lion will reign for 7 years, or 67 in the number of cycles. He will summon the council of priests, monks, believers, and numerous armies. He will say to the cross, take away all of this. And the cross will take it and ascend to heaven. All of them will weep bitterly and will die. The king will die with them. Michael and Gabriel will come with their armies and will take them into the garden of joy. Then the demon Koilion will come with 30,000 and 77 others and will reign. They will eat rocks like reeds, will swallow fire, will drink blood, of course, of women, apparently in impurity. They will reign 7 years. So this is that thing about the 3.5 year, the 7 year that a lot of people talk about. This is written about in 5th Baruch 47:15. Kim Clement's prediction on the 2 cosmic clocks and the false timeline being destroyed. Even modern prophecy confirms this, where Kim Clement himself prophesied there will be 2 cosmic clocks where one is false timeline and one is God's true timeline, and it predicts God will smash the false timeline and will become conscious of what the true timeline and correct chronology actually is. And so what I believe this is going on here is we're currently still seeing the devil trying to enforce his timeline on our reality for the last 500 years, ever since the time of Joan of Arc. And I believe it's already coming to an end. And it was ended at the end of last year. Well, actually the year before last. So it would have been about a year ago. End of 2024, I believe, is when the timeline officially ended. I would say that now we are moving into the correct timeline, but you're still seeing the devil pushing his timeline while it's switching the other way. And I think what you're going to start seeing is miracles. You're going to start seeing a lot of crazy stuff. You're going to see people being exposed that are in the church that are bad. You're going to see new people rise up in their place. You're going to see bad people exposed in the world, new people rise up in their place, and you're going to see miraculous things happen, and you're going to see miraculous changes that obviously I don't think we could change this on our own. The way things are is extremely corrupt and everything. So I think it really requires miracles to bring this to pass. I don't think any president or anybody's going to be able to do it on their own, obviously. As you can already tell, nothing's really happening that well. I mean, it's a little bit, but not a lot. I think it's going to require God to fully turn this around, obviously. And I think we're going to start seeing it. I'm going to do a new video on this soon where we figured out what the 8 kings are. Eight kings that are the false king. They're antichrists. Okay, they're kings and antichrists. I think what we're seeing right now is the devil's trying to enforce his timeline using things like this technology, this Hadron, collider, or CERN. And I think what's going on is the devil's been trying to change things his direction, and he's been trying to manipulate things his direction. And God is going to come in and change the whole thing for us, because I don't think we have the ability or power to do so. And it's interesting because we have also the eschatology I've been talking about, and I'll get into that in another video. I don't want to get into all of it here. But it is interesting how they were talking with this type of language, 4D ghost, right? Or they used the God particle. It's all very spiritual linguistics, right? Laced with spiritual terminology. At any rate, I think you get kind of the idea. We're going to get into more in the next video. Kind of wonder what some of you guys think. Let me know in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.